26th, 1986, the small town of Pripyat was asleep, unaware that in just a few hours it would become one of the most haunted places on Earth. Inside the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, engineers were running a routine safety test. The goal was simple: to see how long the turbines could produce electricity after a reactor shut down. But what began as an experiment would end as the worst nuclear disaster in human history. The calm before the Meltdown reactor number 4, a massive concrete structure filled with thousands of uranium fuel rods, was operating at a low power level that night. The engineers were tired. Some had been working for over 12 hours, and under pressure to finish the test before dawn, they began ignoring safety procedures. At 1:23 a.m, a series of critical mistakes stacked upon one another. Power levels dropped too low. The reactor became unstable. Then, in a desperate attempt to stabilize it, the control rods were reinserted too quickly. Within seconds, the unthinkable happened. A chain reaction spiraled out of control. The explosion, 1:23:44 a.m. A massive explosion tore through the reactor 4. The reactor's 1,000-ton lid was blown off like a toy. A column of blue light shot into the sky, visible for miles around. The earth trembled. Windows shattered across Pripyat. Inside the control room, chaos erupted. Men screamed orders into phones that no longer worked. Graphite blocks from the reactor core were hurled into the air, glowing with radiation strong enough to kill a person in seconds. The fire that followed burned hotter than anyone could imagine, feeding on graphite, metal, and uranium. And with it, invisible death spread silently into the night sky. The first responders, minutes after the explosion, firefighters arrived, unaware that they were walking straight into hell. They carried no protective gear, only water hoses. Lieutenant Vladimir Pravik was among the first to arrive. He looked at the strange blue glow rising from the plant. "It's beautiful," he reportedly said. None of them knew that the glow was Cherenkov radiation, a deadly sign of ionized air. As they battled the fire, the radiation ripped through their bodies. Their skin burned, their lungs filled with blood. Within hours, many would collapse. Within days, they would die. Pripyat, the silent city, while the reactor burned, life in Pripyat went on as usual. Children played outside. Couples went for walks. The sky looked strange, a faint metallic haze, but no one knew what it meant. There were no alarms, no warnings, only whispers and confusion. It took 36 hours before the evacuation order came. Buses lined up across the city. Loudspeakers told residents to pack a few belongings, just for a few days. But no one ever returned. Pripyat became a ghost town, frozen in time. Toys still lay scattered in playgrounds. Dishes left on dinner tables. Clocks stopped at the moment the world changed. The cover-up, the Soviet government tried to hide the disaster. For 2 days, officials denied that anything had happened, but radiation detectors across Europe began to sound alarms. In Sweden, scientists detected unusually high radiation levels and traced them back to the USSR. Only then did the Soviet Union finally admit there had been an incident at Chernobyl. By then, it was too late. The radioactive cloud had spread across Europe, reaching as far as Italy and the UK. The Liquidators, to contain the disaster, over 500,000 people, known as Liquidators, were sent to clean up the site. They worked in shifts of just seconds to limit exposure. Soldiers, engineers, miners, all risking their lives. They bulldozed contaminated soil, built a concrete sarcophagus over the reactor, and buried radioactive debris in massive pits. Some had no idea how dangerous it was. Others others did, but went anyway. Many never came home. Those who did carried invisible scars, cancers, genetic damage, and nightmares that never faded. The aftermath. The explosion released 400 times more radiation than the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. Forests turned red and died. Animals disappeared. Children were born with severe birth defects. The Chernobyl exclusion zone, a 30-kilometre radius around the reactor, remains one of the most radioactive places on Earth. Yet strangely, nature has returned. Wolves roam the streets of Pripyat. Trees grow through buildings. Life, in its own way, has reclaimed what humans lost, the human cost. The exact number of deaths remains uncertain. The Soviet Union reported only 31 immediate deaths, but experts estimate that tens, perhaps hundreds of thousands, suffered and died from radiation-related illnesses over the years. Chernobyl was more than just a disaster. It was a warning, a reminder that human arrogance and secrecy can destroy everything, that the smallest mistake, under the wrong circumstances, can change the course of history forever. The legacy today, Chernobyl stands as a haunting monument to human error. The city of Pripyat lies silent, a museum of decay. Abandoned schools, hospitals, amusement parks, all frozen in time. In 2019, a massive steel structure called the New Safe Confinement was completed, sealing the reactor for the next 100 years. Yet the ghosts of that night still linger. Tourists say they can feel it. The heavy silence, the echo of lost lives, and sometimes when the wind blows through the empty streets of Pripyat, it carries the faint whisper of those who never left. Closing words. Chernobyl was not just a nuclear accident. It was a human tragedy, a story of bravery, denial, and the invisible